Hey there, party people, and welcome to episode 107 of the GVGCast. I am once again your host for today, Ash Paulson, and I'm joined by my good friend and GVG partner, Derek Bittner. And only Derek because the rest of the crew is indisposed today. Derek, my man, how's it going?
I'm doing good. I am excited. I gotta say, I'm
Okay.
excited.
I like excited. What are we excited for?
I'm excited because I am 8 quests from being caught up for Final Fantasy 14 and
Nice.
finally being content current on a game I've been playing for 3 years, I think, somewhere around there. But that's not the thing that the only thing I'm excited about, because that also means now that I'm done with my mad dash to get caught up, um, I I'm finally going to be starting my Mega Man marathon.
Hell yeah, and I'm very much looking forward to checking in on various parts of that marathon, knowing of course which are my favorite games in the series, which are the most universally reviled games in the series. You can bet I will be there for X6 and X7. No doubt about it, because I must watch you suffer through those games as I have suffered.
Oh gosh, I've been watching Some Call Me Johnny, his gameplay channel. They've been going through X6 and they're just like, you gotta
Oh,
cheat back. You can't play this game normally. I'm like, oh, I'm playing this game normally. I'm gonna
ooh,
suffer. I am
you
I'm
are.
prepared to suffer. I mean, I I I sent the list over to you so you could see
Yes.
like I basically asked you, did I miss anything? From what I
And
could
from
tell,
No. From my estimation, you have not. I mean, there are games in that list that even I haven't played. Like, I've played almost every Mega Man game out there, but I haven't played some of like the really obscure spin-offs and such. So you're going to be playing through 5 or 6 games that even I haven't played. Like, I haven't played the Wonder Swan games, things like that. So I'll be curious to hear your thoughts on them. I need to kind of catch up and do that at some point.
there's a Mega Man and Bass follow-up on the Wonder Swan
Right.
Color.
Yeah. Which
Nobody
I've
ever
actually
talks
heard
about it.
I've heard decent things about it. I just don't. I've never really had a chance to go and play those. So that's something that I have got to go and back and do once you've played them, so we can compare notes. Because after all this is said and done, you will have played more Mega Man games than even I have. So
You can't
how
allow that.
exactly how long are you anticipating this to take?
It all depends on timing and whatnot. It's going to be tricky because obviously some of these are RPGs. We got the networks, we got the command mission in
Right.
there. Star Force are longer as well. Um, in Legends is kind of a longer game as well. It could take a bit, but I also have been skirting around the idea of, and I don't know if people would be interested in this. I don't know if the dreaded SEO of me doing like sort of casual sit down talk about the game review on the channel after I beat
Right.
each one. So, I mean, obviously there have been people who's like, here's my thoughts on the entire Mega Man Classic series and X series, but this is by release order, so it is all over the place.
Right. Well,
Um,
what could be fun is if we're worried. I mean, you could try doing that, and we can see how the algorithm plays out, see how views go. But if it doesn't work out, we could also try it in such a way that we do like a discussion, like a casual discussion about each one, coming from the perspective of you having played them for the first or whatever time, and then versus someone for me who's played these games a billion times over the years, and just compare and contrast and bounce off each other.
That would be fun too.
I could try that.
There's a lot of different ways to go about this, but I'm always curious about your thoughts on Wiley and Wright's no rock board. That's paradise on NES.
Oh, geez, yeah, I tried to puzzle my way through that one for a little bit, and, it's
I
exactly
think
what
there's
you
an
think
English patch.
there is,
I
yeah,
think
which
there's
I
an
haven't
English patch
played,
now.
but I
Mhm.
think there is an English patch now, yeah, but no, I'm very much looking forward to hearing your thoughts on both my favorites throughout the series, as well as, obviously the infamously terrible ones, because Mega Man's one of those series where the highs are so high and the lows are just abysmally low. It's just
Uh,
very yeah.
the third game on this lineup is Mega Man on DOS.
Oh, yep, yep. Now that I have
pray
played,
f-
and that's
pray for me.
yeah, have fun with that. And yeah, you're gonna be at it for a while though, between all the battle networks and the Star Forces and Command Mission. You've
It,
got quite the journey ahead of you.
Yeah, I'm definitely not gonna be as consistent with it as I was for Castlevania.
Mhm.
Because I was basically that was the only thing I was streaming when I did the whole Castlevania marathon. This one is just going to be mostly once a week, unless certain things happen. I have certain stretch goals for my channel that will
Right.
make it more of an everyday thing, and I'll obviously just fill that with more Mega Man. But that's I'm not relying on that. It's just what it is. So we'll just have to see how it all goes. But honestly, looking at 71, potentially 84 games, this might be like a 2 year plus project
Yeah,
potentially.
you're going to be going at this for quite a while, and I am very
Mm.
much seeing how the journey pans out for you. Really
And
quickly. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, who knows? I'm just hoping that the marathon does not end with Mega Man X Dive Offline, because
Man,
that's
I have
currently the
been.
last Mega Man game.
Yeah, that would be nice if within the span of how, the next 1 or 2 years that it takes you to go through all these, we'll finally actually have a proper new Mega Man game to end for you to end things off on, whether it's 12, whether it's X9, whether it's something completely new. But yeah, X Dive Offline being your last game would be kind of a depressing note to end on, I think. Even though that game, to be fair, does have its fans.
True.
I am particularly looking forward to. I've said, of course, how much I can't wait to see you suffer through X6 and X7, but I am actually really genuinely excited for you to get to the Zero series because
Mm.
the Zero series is where the lore gets like X and Zero, but especially the Zero series. The lore goes into some really interesting places that I'm looking forward to chatting about with you because
And
yeah, the story arc of the Zero series is legitimately gripping and really cool.
I've only played the original. I played and beat the original Zero, but never any of the others. So I love
And
the
they
art
only
style.
get yeah.
The art style of Zero might be my favorite.
Oh yeah, no, we've talked about this before. The art style in the Zero series is my favorite, I think, in any game or series I've ever played. Like I love his art style. It's Toto Nakayama. I love his art style so freaking much. And I'll just say it now. That design of Zero is better. Is the superior one
It
compared to
is
Zero series in the
absolutely is.
yeah yeah. Really quickly, we have a patron birthday to shout out. Happy almost birthday to TC Clockworth, who is celebrating their birthday tomorrow, the 22nd. So happy almost birthday. Hope you get to eat lots
Happy
of
birthday.
lots of great food and play lots of fun games and spend time with family and friends. So however you celebrate, we hope you have a great time.
Yeah.
Um,
What have you been playing, Ash? I feel like I just steamrolled that.
No, it's all right. Hey, I asked. It's all right. No, I have been playing the Thousand Year Door remake primarily. I'm
Ah,
finally chipping away at that a little more after not having had much time because I had like a weekend or I had a wedding to go to one weekend, and then the following weekend it was my mom's birthday and Father's Day. So I just had like a lot of successive weekends where I didn't have much gaming time. So primarily I'm chipping away at the Thousand Year Door remake now. When I have time, I'm at chapter 4. And I'm just having such a lovely time revisiting that game and just seeing all the souped up visuals and hearing the brand new soundtrack and just it's a classic. Thousand Year Door is already one of my favorite games ever. Going into the
mm.
remake and just experiencing it again, it's been about 5 years I think since the last time I played it, which was for the old places game club. So
Oh
it's been
yeah.
long
Oh
enough for
God.
sure. Yeah.
That was intense. I thought Danganronpa was intense, but
Right.
I Paper Mario seemed way more intense.
Yeah, and this in the my playing schedule is a lot less aggressive this time, so I'm able to really take my time, breathe it all in, really enjoy all the all the set pieces and the great new visuals and the music, and just enjoy going through this amazing game again. But yeah, so that, and then I mentioned this last week, but I did play Bit Trip Rerunner recently, and I finished it. I actually platinumed it because I just adore the Bit Trip series. Well, I should say this: I've platinumed it, and by that I mean I've gotten every like gameplay related trophy. The last one is to get 10 likes on an uploaded level, which is one of those either it happens or it doesn't with
Yeah,
the online
exactly. You can't
trophies.
really
So
affect that.
yeah, but all the skill-based trophies I've gotten, so I've say I've like platinumed it. But it's basically like an expanded remake of the original Bit Trip Runner, and if you have not played those games before, I genuinely cannot recommend them enough. The Runner 2 especially is one of my favorite games. I played it originally back in the Wii U, and I cannot say enough good about that game. So if you haven't tried the Bit Trip Runner series, please do. Rerunner is out now on Steam and PS5, and I believe Xbox. And then otherwise, I've just been dabbling in some NSO. I've been, of course, making my way through all the Rockman World games, the Game Boy Mega Man games,
Nice.
because they're out now. And then in the wake of the Direct, I've been kind of dipping my toes into a replay of Metroid Zero Mission because that game as you know, is
It holds
amazing.
up.
Oh God, yeah, it does. And then also just kind of, because there's never a bad time to kind of nurse a very slow replay of A Link to the Past. I'm just kind of, you know, dipping my toes again
Y
into A Link to the
we
Past on
gotta
Game Boy.
gotta join up together to beat, Four Swords so you can unlock the
The
extra dungeon.
Yeah, exactly. Which I actually did back in the day because I actually was lucky enough to have some friends who all played enough games and loved Zelda enough to want to play Four Swords with me. So I actually did get to unlock it back in the day, but I'd love to play through it again and actually play the color dungeon again or whatever it is, the Four Swords dungeon.
It's really funny. I actually had a friend that I was able to play Four Swords with back in the day. We were all set up and did all that and had a lot of fun. But
Nice.
it was at the time where I wasn't like I got lost somehow in Link to the Past and gave up because it was the first time I'd ever played
Oh,
the GBA version, and I just like I don't know where to go, and there was not easily accessible guides at the point. I look back now, it's like oh my god, because it was I know exactly where it was. I'll never forget it now. It's the
yeah.
part where you first go to the Dark World and you're the bunny, and I couldn't figure out how to get out of the area. I thought I glitched it. I didn't notice the really obvious spots on the
Yeah.
ground
You know, it's funny. Something so similar happened to me as a kid when I was playing my friend at the time's copy. We were kind of he brought his copy over. We were playing it together. And so he gave the controller to me to play for a while, and I got to that part of the game while I was playing his file, and neither of us had ever seen that before. And he got pissed at me because he thought that I had glitched his game, just like you were saying. He thought I got him stuck, that I like bugged the game somehow, and neither of us, because we were little kids, couldn't figure out what the hell to do and where to go from there. So
And I used
yeah,
the mirror, but I wasn't using it in the right place, and it
right,
didn't click with me as like, oh, it's the mountain
yeah,
or anything like that.
yeah,
Of course, I replayed it like when I finally went to play it and beat it again officially. It's like, oh, that was easy. What's
yeah.
wrong with me?
But A Link to the Past, I've said this before, but it's not necessarily my favorite game of all time. Like that's obviously Chrono Trigger, but A Link to the Past might just be, in my opinion, the least flawed game I've ever played. Like the most just
it's
polished to a sheen, perfect game
it's
I've ever played.
quintessential Zelda.
And I never get tired of replaying it. So even the Screaming Link version, it's weird to hear this version of Link having using Ocarina of Time's Link's voice clips and screaming all the time when he's slashing his sword everywhere. But
The GBA loved adding those sound bits, didn't
yeah,
it?
but I do think that for not so we have one of our executive producer patron hangouts tomorrow, which we're going to be playing, I believe, Perfect Dark and Mario Party Superstars for. But for next week's hangout, I think everybody wants to play Four Swords. So
Oh,
be like a Four Swords double power hour, so we can make some good inroads into unlocking that Four Sword dungeon in A Link to the Past.
I love that. That's like one of the most excited people are um from this NSO drop is just actually being able to play Four Swords for the first time. So everybody's like, yes, we get to try this.
Yeah.
Port Four Swords Adventures.
Oh, please. That game is so good. Four Swords Adventures is amazing and it needs to be played by more people. Absolutely. But
For
speaking
shame.
of Zelda and new NSO offerings, I figured, before I don't even know what news we're going to talk about from this week, if we are going to talk about any major stuff, but I feel like the most important thing is for us to kind of reflect on this week's Nintendo Direct now that we've had a few days to kind of digest it and think about it. Just kind of talk about what stands out a few days later, what we're really looking forward to, what surprised us. I think we're both probably still in agreement that that was one of the best Nintendo Directs ever, like that we've gotten in a
Mhm.
long time, right?
Oh, absolutely. Like
Yeah,
we didn't want to have the discussion be too crowded afterwards. So Brandon and I were just working on those uploads of just those specific reactions that we all had. And yeah, I mean, I've rewatched it, watched other people's reactions, and obviously there are stuff that is not as exciting as you go
sure.
in there. It's like there are definite lulls, but man, the highs hit high that they just sort of overwrite everything else because you wouldn't expect it. I didn't expect to start with a brand new Mario and Luigi. I
No,
didn't expect to end with Metroid Prime. Well, kind of expected by the end of it. It's like I think we might get Prime 4 at this
yeah,
point. Did not expect the Zelda game starring Zelda. That's it's just all these surprises, and it's nice to be surprised. That's really what it comes down to.
yeah. It was so nice not having anything or having everything leaked or but the major stuff leaked beforehand. I'm just looking at Nintendo's usual infographic that they release following each direct, and just seeing this amazing collection of logos, like seeing in one kind of big blob what we got. It really was an incredible direct. And I guess especially because you were not on the discussion, I want to ask you, man, if you had to pick one thing that you're more excited about, like your favorite thing from the direct, what would it be? If you can even decide.
That's hard. That's really hard.
It is, right?
Honestly, because I can make an argument for like 4 or 5 of these things. So, but if I had to just go gut feeling right off the bat, it has to be Mario and Luigi Brothership.
You know what? You and me both, man. I wasn't expecting you necessarily to say that, but you and I are on the same page. What? Yeah,
And that's the thing. I've been dying for Metroid Prime 4. Well, not dying because I've just been sort of putting it off my head, out of my head. So I've not been thinking about it too much. And it's still a nebulous distance away. But Mario and Luigi is a solid distance away. Same for Zelda, but you expect Zelda games at this point. I knew Dragon Quest III was coming. I had a feeling Fantasia would be ported. I hoped Ace Attorney Investigations would finally get true ports. These are the big ones for me.
yeah.
But I did not expect a brand new Mario and Luigi and to look like that.
Oh God, it looks beautiful. It looks like you're. I love that. I love that old school cartoon style. I've always liked that
Mhm.
style of art for Mario and Luigi. But now we've got it on a console that can really render out a game that you can play in that style, and it looks
Yeah.
so
I
pretty.
I mean, I grew up playing Mario and Luigi rather than Paper Mario. I played a little bit of I had Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door, and I played a little bit, but I don't know, I got caught. It was one of those RPG things. You just put it down and you never came back. But Mario and Luigi, I played and beat every single one except for um, Paper Jam. I never
Same,
finished that one. But
same.
I for the longest time I considered Mario and Luigi better than Paper Mario. Now I think it's a bit more even. They
Mhm.
definitely have interesting trajectories, but brand new Mario and Luigi. Yes, please.
Yeah, man. I mean, I hear you. And I think, you and I probably joined a lot of people in kind of assuming that given that it had been 9 years since the previous new Mario Luigi game and the fact that Alpha Dream's been shuttered, we kind of figured that the series was probably just kind of unofficially on ice, that we might never actually see another new Mario Luigi game again. And I'm so happy to be wrong about that because as you were saying, this game looks so good, and I've watched the trailer a few times now, and I just can't get over how awesome the Bros moves look and just all the different animations. And I've been trying to figure out if I think the music we're hearing might be Yoko Shimomura returning. I can't really tell. She
I
hasn't
can't.
said anything on her Twitter.
It
I don't know.
doesn't. It doesn't sound like Shimomura. I gotta
It
say, it
kind of
does
doesn't.
not. And that might be the biggest loss if Shimomura is not there. Like I'm sure the gameplay will still be wonderful, but
Yeah.
if we don't have Shimomura music, that feels like a lot, like a real missed opportunity. Because
Yeah, because
she's
she's
sort of
she's
defined Mario and Luigi.
yeah, she's been the sole series composer since since the very first one, Superstar Saga. So I can't imagine why they wouldn't bring her back unless it's because she's already full up on other work like Kingdom Hearts 4. But I hope she's back because, her soundtracks comprise such a big part of what make the Mario and Luigi experience so special. But even if she's not back, I'm still am super
Yeah.
looking forward to this game.
And thinking about it, it being a new game for Mario and Luigi makes so much sense because what killed that series was the fact that Paper Jam wasn't that great. You got the sticker star stink on it,
Tinker Star,
which
I think
wasn't a
Tinker
great
Star
what
is a name for it.
stinker star, yeah.
Yeah.
Which didn't help it at all. And then you had two remakes that didn't feel like one was okay, the other one felt very unnecessary. To bring it back even with Partners in Time, I don't think it would have hit as hard. Like it would have been cool to have it
Yeah.
back, but I think I don't think people would be as hyped for this as they are for having a brand new game.
Yeah, and I feel the same way. And I mean, I've gone on the record saying before that despite its bloat, I'm a big fan of Dream Team. But even if they had brought it
Same.
back with a Dream Team remaster, that wouldn't have been as exciting as a
Yeah.
brand new game like what we got here. And now I know our patron and community member Wataniac will kill me if I don't go back and address this because he asked earlier, and I wanted to ask you as well. You are obviously a Metroid super fan, so I think we need to hear your thoughts, man. We need your thoughts on Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, 7 years after its initial announcement.
I think it's looking great. I think what they seem to be focusing on right now, and gameplay wise, this is just classic Metroid. They're not. We haven't gotten any
Yeah.
kind of new gimmick or anything like that. It's just like it's the Prime formula. Silex is here, and here's a taste of the new environment you'll actually be exploring. But it's obviously that opening section is just Sam like gets a sense of the controls, and Samus loses her powers. That's what it's going to be.
Right.
Let's be honest on that one. Um, I do have a friend that's been really going heavy into this, and apparently there's some old discussions about there being maybe time travel in this Metroid, where you have like you're on a planet and you go to the past and future of
That
that
would be
planet, and it changes
sick.
things, which you know would be certainly an interesting way to go about it, and kind of tie into Zelda once again. They went for the alternate worlds for Echoes. Time for our Metroid Ocarina of Time. Uh,
Yeah. Sounds like a Metroid Prime Sonic CD crossover almost.
Yeah, to that
Yeah.
degree, and it's like I said, it's graphically, it's freaking gorgeous. The environments look amazing. I love just how dynamic and active everything is. That opening level feels like nothing else in Metroid.
Mhm.
So that it really draws you in that way. But there's still not a way to say like I can't like look at this and being like, yes, this is going to be the new best Metroid game,
Right.
Metroid Prime game. Well, I can't say it's like, yes, this is going to dethrone Metroid Dread as my favorite Metroid. I don't know yet, but
Right.
it's promising. That is the big thing. It's extremely promising.
Well, and of course, this is obviously a very early look. We haven't seen, the gimmick, capital G, yet, but we know there's going
Mhm.
to be one. Well, yeah, I'm guessing the next trailer we see of Prime 4 that's when they're going to show us the twist, right? What's the
Yeah.
gimmick of Prime 4, and then we'll find out really what's anchoring the difference to Metroid Prime 4 this time around. Also, I have to shout out our boy Daniel. He is actually in the background today, running the stream for us, so we can do the show with you guys. But he wasn't feeling so well himself. His voice is a little tired, bit of a sore throat. So that's why he's not here. But he is in the background running the stream for us. And I wanted to mention that because he did an awesome analysis of the Metroid Prime 4 trailer, which is
Absolutely.
up on our channel right now. So once the show's over, if you're hankering for something else to watch, go check out his analysis of the Prime 4 trailer because he did an amazing
He
job on it.
he noticed the mock droids. I did not notice that. I
Yeah.
forgot about the mock droids, to be honest.
Same. I forgot about them as well. I didn't realize that. I'm over here thinking, oh man, why is Silex flanked by Metroids? No, they're not. They're mock droids. So, speaking of Prime 4, though, before we move on from this, you were talking about time travel. Now, I'm not saying this is due to any actual time travel element, but it's come out that, and we can see this in the trailer, that Metroid Prime 4 Beyond is actually set in the year 20X9, which for series loreheads, they went and figured out that this means it actually takes place after Super Metroid and Metroid Other M, but before Fusion, unlike the first three Prime games, which all took place between Metroid and Samus Returns. So there's a time jump happening here.
That's interesting. I wonder if it has to do with the time travel that's the time that you go into, or maybe Samus gets blasted in the past or something like that. Because man, Silex took his time. Because
Right?
up to this point, everything that was Prime took place between one and two.
Right. So this means, I mean, and that carries a lot of implications for the story of where Prime 4 takes place because this is after the baby and everything that happens with the baby. But before all the government conspiracy stuff happening in Fusion. So I'm wondering if something in Prime 4 is going to like set things up smoothly going into Fusion.
It's possible they could do that, because so the one thing that's been mistranslated and never clarified on, and if we'd ever get a Fusion remake, I'm sure they would do that. In the Japanese version, you learn that the ones sort of behind the conspiracy, and the one that seems like it really seems like at the end of Fusion that Samus went against the Federation, and I mean, she might be on the run now and on the hunt because of the actions there.
Right.
Um, Turns out that's not really the case, because it's this is a rebel faction of the Federation. It isn't the actual
Right.
Federation. It's just sort of offshoot group doing all this. But you could set up for that offshoot group by having them being funded and worked with Silex. Have
Right.
Silex be the
That's a
origin
great
point of
point.
that, being like, we got the Federation using Samus as a bounty hunter, and you got the Federation faction using Sylux as their bounty hunter.
Right, and we also see Sylux with space pirates, I believe, which is
Mhm.
interesting considering this takes place after Super Metroid. And if I remember correctly, that game pretty much signaled the destruction of the space pirates, right?
Pretty much. The only reason space pirates showed up in Fusion was because of the X taking
The
over
X
bodies and
parasites.
whatnot. So yeah,
Yeah.
there's no space pirates in Dread. So yeah, the space pirates are done as of Super Metroid.
So,
For the
or
most
are
part.
they? Dot dot
Or are
dot.
they?
Because
Well,
now we see
I
them as
guess they
Psylocke.
kind of came back, and it's been a while since I played Other M, but they kind of came back. But Ridley's dead.
Right, right. I mean, God, there's just so much to talk to about, the direct. Obviously, Prime 4 and Mario and Luigi are two of the biggest ones, but we also, I think we'd be remiss and our audience would kill us if we didn't touch on The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom, which finally thrusts Zelda herself into the main spotlight, not counting the CDI game, of course. But we've finally got a proper The Legend of Link game, and man, it's looking great. It's looking kind of like Breath of the Wild, but in 2D in terms of you make your own way through the game and you puzzle things out yourself. And it seems like there are going to be multiple ways to get through puzzles and different encounters. And how are you feeling about it so far, man?
I'm feeling really good. It's a sort of a brilliant way to change up because when you think about it, it's like, yeah, a Zelda-led Zelda game should not play exactly like Link playing. I like
Right.
that they changed it up quite a bit. It has its own unique feel. It makes me very curious, especially because you are so open with what you can use. Will there be dungeons? Or is it going to have the same route where you get new items and stuff in order to in order to reach new areas, or is it just going to come down to the echoes that you can get? There's a lot of mystery there and how the structure is actually going to work for Echoes of Wisdom, but as a pure concept, I love it. I love how weird it can be. That's like, all right, I could jump over this wind current, or I could just plant this tree and I can
Yeah.
just get around that way, or just choose what enemy you want to use. Obviously, the tricky part of that, if that's her only method of fighting, uh, hopefully they found a way to balance that because otherwise it's a lot of pausing. Like up,
Right.
pause, switch to this one. Up, pause, switch to this one. Up, pause, switch to this one. Um, so there's traps in there, but this is Nintendo. They'll definitely figure out a way, I think, to smooth it out, make it work a little better. Um,
Yeah. I mean, even though, like they were careful to streamline Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild for people who didn't want to spend a bunch of time building complex contraptions, they still made it possible to streamline the game such that you could just play through the game with, interfacing with building stuff minimally if you want. So I wouldn't be surprised if there is some way we haven't seen yet that maybe streamlines the combat a little bit for those who want it.
Yeah. And if I had to guess, maybe what you get from dungeons is alternate ways to use those items.
Hmm.
So, but rather than just like, I have a table I can place. Instead, like, now I can flip the table and use it as a flotation device or whatever. That sort of ideas. Like unlocking alternate methods of using each of those items. Um, or I don't know, you duplicate this, and here's this enemy. Give that enemy this item, and they're all of a sudden they'll wield it and use that sort of idea. Obviously, there's a ton of different ways they could go about this, but um, just the sheer potential is exciting, and it's
For
a
sure.
extremely cute art style. I've loved all the fan art that's come out of this
Oh,
game.
it's
I
so
think
good.
this game has probably gotten the most fan art out of anything out of the direct.
Zelda hitting monsters with tables is never gonna get old. With chairs and tables and beds, that's never gonna get old. I do agree with you, Spirit of Luxus and Shell Shock though, in our live audience chat. Link's Awakening remake did run pretty. I'll just say it badly in the
Mhm.
overworld. So I'm really hoping they've cleaned things up because it is the same ostensibly art style, and I'm guessing engine. So
You
I'm
didn't notice it
hoping.
with this trailer? I
Yeah, I
mean,
didn't
I
either.
think
I
even
didn't
in the
either.
original, like even in Link's Awakening, you could kind of see those issues. But here I
Right.
didn't notice them whatsoever.
Yeah, I think this is looking great. And it's funny in our discussion, somebody point I think it was maybe either in our discussion or maybe during the reaction, but somebody pointed out in the super chat something that seems so obvious in hindsight. I'd be shocked if it didn't end up being the case. But someone mentioned how in the final battle they could see Zelda using a Link Echo to attack the final
Yeah,
boss, which
yeah.
still makes sense.
I
Yeah,
mean, and you can place multiple enemies. So yeah, here comes 4 swords. Ah, screw that, 8 swords.
eight
all
swords.
all the Eagle Links
Yeah,
fighting. It would be a fun way to have them team up and working together for the final
yeah.
encounter.
God, it's dude.
Um,
It's
do
like
you
a
think
week.
Ganon is the final boss, or are they going to change it up?
I mean, it could be a bait and switch because we see Link fighting the A Link to the Past version of Ganon at the beginning of the trailer. And it could be a bait and switch that we see Ganon, towering over everybody in the key art as well. So maybe there's going to be another big bad, but I don't know. I feel like even if there is another villain, that Ganon will still be part of everything. I don't
Right.
think they'd have him in the key art, being as prominent as he is, if he
True.
wasn't a central part of this,
That's a
right?
good point. That's a very
Yeah.
good point.
So
So
that's just my guess, but I'm guessing they'll probably introduce another secondary or another villain to join him as well. Maybe I'm just curious to see where the Rift stuff is coming from. And are we ever going to get
yeah,
to explore the Rift area? Do we get to go into it and rescue people? Like, I wonder.
that'd be cool. That'd be cool to have more puzzle area, like puzzle-ish areas, rather than just the over exploring the overworld or finding new ways to get through the overworld. Just going into the. Oh, you do explore the rifts in the
Yeah,
trailer, according to Daniel. I missed that.
I missed that too. So thank you for keeping us honest, Daniel. Appreciate that, man. And this is coming out like September 13th, I think, which is 3 days after my birthday, but also a week after both Astrobot and Ace Attorney Investigations Collection. Like, it's happening again.
I
Everything's getting so crowded again.
Yeah, I think it was.
Oh, it's the
Oh yeah, the one that
26th. My
killed
bad.
me. The thing that killed me. Mario and Luigi Brothership comes out in November. I don't know 7th. Dragon Quest 3, November 14th.
Yeah.
Damn it!
And thank you for correcting me. It's September 26th. So we have a little bit longer to get through it. But man, there's just so much coming out all of a sudden that I'm gonna have to play. And speaking of Ace Attorney Investigations, really quick, I kind of had a feeling after Great Ace Attorney Chronicles that we would see that brought over to the States or to the West eventually, but I didn't think it would be this soon. Did you?
No, I mean, it's hard to believe, but it's the same year as the Apollo Justice Collection.
Which is,
That
yeah, that's wild.
you can't imagine it. I'm just so delighted that we finally have every single Ace Attorney game playable in the West. That is the first time it happens. Will we get the Leighton crossover again? Probably not, but at least we got something.
Yeah.
Also, I gotta take care of a dog real quick. I'll be right back. I'm sorry. Hold
No,
down the
no,
fort for me.
all good. I've got some breaking news to share. Actually, the best kind of breaking news, in my opinion. Our community member VMN just upgraded their Patreon pledge to the executive producer tier after hearing that we're probably going to be playing Four Swords, having a Four Swords double power hour next Sunday. So thank you so much, VMN, and thank you for the heads up with Taniac. I really appreciate that. So for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, we do have a Patreon, patreon.com/gvgaming, where if you support us at the executive producer tier or above, we play games all together, us and all the EPs twice a month. And so that's the tier that VMN just supported us at. Of course, you get a bunch of perks on top of that. But yes, that is the executive producer tier. Welcome, VMN.
Ooh,
We are looking forward to playing Four Swords with you.
that's exciting.
And yeah, so I was just sharing some breaking news that VMN joined the EP tier after learning we're going to be playing Four Swords probably next Sunday. So
Oh, nice.
that'll be great. And also, this didn't come in when I put out the initial call for birthday shout outs, but happy almost birthday as well to Mooberry Muffin, who is celebrating their birthday tomorrow as well. So happy birthday to you, Mooberry. And
Yeah,
yeah,
happy
so I
birthday.
guess going back to Ace Attorney really quick, I have heard okay things about the first game, but I've consistently heard the second game, which has never before been available in the West officially, is one of the best Ace Attorney games ever.
Yeah, I've
And
heard the
I'm
same.
quite excited about that. So yeah, we're gonna, as you said, have access to every single Ace Attorney game now for the first time ever in the West, and hopefully this is all leading up to the grand reveal of an Ace Attorney 7 sometime in the near future, or at least not too distant future.
I would love that. I have seen a lot of people who've played the fan translation being like, I don't know how I feel about these official names. Like
Uh-huh.
we're getting different puns.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I forgot about this, but I saw a rewind of what the reactions of people when um, Apollo Justice first came out. Because
Mhm.
it took a while for it to come out to the States and people were playing it early and there might have been fan translations. It might have taken a while. I don't know. I wasn't as into Ace Attorney at that point. But the original translation by fans for Apollo was actually just in case.
Oh, was it really? That's actually great.
Yeah. And people
It's
were
actually
like,
great.
I don't know if I can get used to it. But now, like, for me, it's like, no, that's Apollo.
Yeah, definitely. But that is pretty I do like that alternate idea. That's pretty great.
Mm.
So I don't think there's too much for either of us to say about Dragon Quest 3 and 1 and 2 HD 2D remake. It looks
Not,
amazing, right?
yeah, it looks fantastic. And all I will say is that one of my goals was to get the first because we knew this was coming. I wanted to have a video on every single the first three Dragon Quest before 3 HD 2D came out and have a release date. It's like, okay, it's time to get started. And dude, there is like I've only been able to put in 2 hours into the game so far. I am still very
Yeah.
much in the opening hours. The quality increase on NES
Mhm.
is unbelievable. The sound, the graphics, the gameplay, the balancing. It is the idea of 1 and 2 fully realized, and to see what they're gonna do with this version makes me all the more excited.
I am genuinely excited because I am a complete newcomer to the first 3 TQ games. I've only played 11 and part of 8. So, for me, I'm gonna be going in completely fresh-faced into the Airdrie trilogy, and I am so excited to experience like this for the first time. What I found interesting was Yuji Horii saying that he felt the best way to play these games is 3, then 1, then 2, and even though I know that 3 is a prequel to 1 and 2, I've never heard any DQ fans actually say that before. I've never heard that take. So I'm
Probably because
curious.
of the story the stories are all kind of basic, so there's not too much you're really missing out there. But yeah, there's a lot of I think it builds off better, like because for example, in 2, you revisit the continent that you explore in 1. I heard 3 has something similar, but I don't know what that is. So I
Mhm,
don't know if you'll miss out on that
mhm.
whenever you get to if you play it in that order. Obviously, I've not gotten that
Right.
far yet.
I am
So
so excited though. That is a day one purchase for me, no doubt about it. And, another one that I'm actually not well, I wasn't pleasantly surprised by DQ3 because I always knew it was going to be and look great. But one I am pleasantly surprised with, I hope, is Super Mario Party Jamboree. And I admit, when we were reacting, I kind of recoiled at first. I'm like, because the original Super Mario Party, it has its fans, including our very own Brandon. He likes it. More power to him. I kind of thought it was so I was like, I don't know. They're going back to the Super Mario Party branding. But then I saw the trailer and then I rewatched it with my wife later on. I rewatched the direct, saw it again. This actually looks like it could be cooking as a pretty good Mario Party game, and I'm really hoping it is. I'm really hoping.
I I think it is going to be because Super Mario Party had some fantastic mini games, and there are so many new mini games here, and that was kind of the fear of a Superstar uh, 2, Superstars 2 is just that okay, it's more old mini games and hey,
Right.
maybe new maps, from 4, 5 and 6, for example. So, that isn't as exciting, but to see the new mini games and the fact that there's going to be 110 and they have so much variety, whether it's the motion controls or not, I think Super Mario Party was really it's the series signifying that it's almost back. It was so close to being back. The maps
Yeah.
just weren't quite there yet. But I think they saw the critical reaction to Superstars. It's like, aha,
Yeah.
now we know what to do. And I could, whether this gets DLC or not, it's probably not. I think it's a little too late in the lifespan of the Switch in order to get DLC. I think it just makes more sense to make another one on the Switch successor rather than worry about DLC for this one.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, this looks fully featured and with some great maps. So
Yeah, I love that they have 7 boards this time. Superstars always felt a bit limited with just 5. I really appreciate that Mario's Rainbow Castle is one of the returning boards, and like you said, Daniel, like you, first frame, I knew that was that board. I'm like, oh, they're bringing back the very first board from Mario Party One. That's so cool. And I kind of wonder if, and this is like a deep cut, but some of you may know, some may not, that the composer of the original Mario Party was Yasunori Mitsuda, who did Chrono Trigger, Xenogears, etc. And I wonder if they'll bring him back to remix his own music for Mario's Rainbow Castle. That would be kind of cool if they did.
Maybe.
But yeah, but 110 mini games, 7 boards. The boards genuinely look fresh, and it does seem like they've taken all the right lessons from Superstars and kind of honing in on what people want in a Mario Party game. So yeah, it's looking better than I had hoped
And
for when I first saw that name.
we mentioned it during the reaction, and it's echoed by PK Deluxe. Um, it's amazing that Mario Party has not done this before, where it's like set amount of new boards, but also here's some returning favorites.
Ah,
Like,
yeah,
do this. Mario Kart's been taking advantage just for years. Let's just
exactly.
make this a thing.
Yeah. All right. There's one last thing from the direct I want to touch on before we move on, and I honestly, this, despite Mario and Luigi being such an amazing surprise, like we got these really cool surprises. This might have been the most surprising thing of all. If you take everything else out,
Hmm.
Marvel versus Capcom Fighting Collection Arcade Classics. Where did that come? Like that is the dream, right? For versus series fans. Like they did it. They freed MVC2. That was like a whole
Yeah.
thing, like a whole hashtag that Max Dude and a bunch of FGC folks were working on. They did it. MVC2 as well as 6 other games have been freed. And this collection just seems so exhaustive, right?
Oh, it does. I did not think we were ever going to get a Marvel versus Capcom collection. I just thought it was
Never.
just too much beyond. Um, but I thought it was going to be Capcom, but more SNK versus Capcom, or more Capcom versus SNK. I thought that was what we're going to get instead.
Uh-huh.
Um, but no, to get Marvel versus Capcom, I don't know what deal they worked out, but unbelievable in that way. I am of course. Oh yeah, I think we're
There we go. I think we're back.
okay. We're back. Cool.
Yeah.
I
Thanks,
didn't want to
Daniel.
mention it because I
Appreciate
was
it,
going to
man.
keep going on, but people kept mentioning it. So like, should I stop?
Yeah, no, no, no. I was tagging Daniel in the while you were talking. I think we're all good now.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, I don't know what deal they were, as you were saying, what deal they were able to make to work out to make the dream happen. But I am so excited that they made.
Mhm.
I mean, I love the versus games in general. I'm obviously not a high level player, but I love just mashing my way through them. And I mean, I remember when I had my imported copy of X-Men versus Street Fighter for the Saturn, and I had the 4 meg expansion pack thing just to be able to play it on my Saturn. And this is just obviously a much more user-friendly way to play it. It's so much more immediately accessible now. And as Alpha Lion points out, the official website states that this is part of the quote-unquote Fighting Collection series, which could mean that an CVS collection, Capcom versus SNK, might not be off the table either. So
CVS and a Capcom 3D fighting collection, so we can finally get
please.
Project Justice, Rival Schools, Power
Yes.
Stone, all
Oh,
that.
please.
Like, if you want to see those collections, buy this game.
Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to. You because I guess people definitely came out and supported the initial fighting collection.
Right.
So glad to see that happen. And yeah, honestly, it's funny. I've never played a single one of these games. Oh, well, I played Marvel vs. Capcom 2. I had it on
Okay.
PS2 back in the day when I didn't know what Marvel vs. Capcom 2 really was. I played it a little bit, but unlike a lot of the other fighting games I was playing at the time, the Soul Calibers and whatnot, there wasn't a lot of story for me to grasp onto, and I didn't really have anybody to play with. So while it was cool, I didn't really click with it. And it was at the time where I didn't fully know all the Capcom characters like I do now. So I ultimately decided to trade it in for other games. And I realized I had made a mistake as I was trading it in
Oh no.
because for the other games I was trading in, it was like, okay, here's $3, here's $4, here's $2, just for these games. Traded in Marvel vs. Capcom. Here's $40. what? What did I just do?
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
no.
Oh no, that's so
Now
unfortunate.
I hear the PS2 version is like the worst version of it, but still, I had it. So this allows me to actually go back and fully appreciate it. And I did also fix it because I made sure to pick up MVC3, and I love MVC3.
Right. And
So,
this could ultimately lead to maybe a Marvel versus Capcom 4, or at least
mhm.
whatever they want to call it. I still think it's such a shame that Infinite didn't do better than it did, even though it certainly was the victim of terrible marketing. It just was not marketed well at all.
With
Um,
his mod, Max and his team might revive interest in that
it
game
looks
just because.
so good. The new art
Did you see
style
the
in
late?
the mod.
Did you see the latest thing that they showed off that mod's going to be able to do?
I did. Yeah, it's the tag mode, right?
The yeah the no well tag mode, it was 4 player tag mode, so you can have a friend play the
That's so
tag
cool.
partner, but also 4 player simultaneous
Right.
gameplay
Which is
where
the
each person is
coolest.
on the map at the same time.
That is the coolest. Oh man, it's amazing what they're cooking with that mod. And the new art style that's like closer to MVC3 is like I cannot wait to see what X looks like. I don't think they've done X yet, but I need to see it.
Yeah, they haven't showed off X yet. They haven't gotten that
Okay,
far,
yeah, I
but they're
didn't
they're
think
still
so.
working on the individual characters. It's still probably a ways off, but the amount of progress they made in a month, and the fact that I'm sure Capcom is almost okay with this because it's just a mod, so you just buy it on PC, download the mod, bam, you're good, and that's still sales for Capcom, which supports the series.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
Oh,
kind of a
it looks so
win-win.
good. Exactly. Yeah. And it's just what a wonderful surprise. And of course, I did go back and watch Max Du's reaction, and it was every bit the reaction I was expecting and hoping
He
for.
he had nothing to say about the rest of that direct.
The
Like
whole
he
rest. Yeah.
almost got in the focus for Metroid, but obviously he just did no. He just did not care.
Yeah. During Zelda, he actually apologized to everybody else. He's like, "I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry, everybody. I know I should be. It's Zelda, but Marvel, man, Marvel. I can't believe this. I'm in disbelief."
I mean, the man
Yeah.
single-handedly, not single-handedly, but he's been campaigning so hard for years and he'd
Yeah.
basically given up. That's what this whole mod thing was for him, is just hoping
It
in
was
a
so
way.
good. That'll be me if we ever get another Mega Man game announcement on stream. We'll see what happens.
Oh, I want to see you pop off like that. I'd
Oh, I
love to see
will.
you pop off. And who knows, by that point, I might pop off in the same way. Cause I mean, I'd
Exactly.
pop off like Castle if we got Castlevania still, and I haven't gotten that.
I guess 1 second. White Mage Mercury in our live audience chat wanted to know my thoughts on DKC Returns HD. I think it's cool they're bringing it back. I'd rather have a new DK game, of course, at this point, but I do think Returns has often been unfairly slept on compared to Tropical Freeze. Like Tropical Freeze is amazing, but there's like this weird alternated history behind Returns where suddenly Tropical Freeze being as great as it was meant, nah, Returns never really was that good. I don't agree with that. I thought Returns was great, and I'm happy for it to
Returns
be.
came out the same year as Super Mario Galaxy 2, and I preferred Returns.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah,
Well, Returns is a
I
great game, yeah, and we're
I
getting
I, I
finally the
really clicked with Returns.
same, and we're finally getting the definitive version of it. We're getting, no motion controls like there were in the Wii version, but we're getting the extra stuff from the 3DS version. So we're gonna get like, the improved visuals with regular controls with the extra content from 3DS. Although, as someone on Twitter is pointing out, there are some weird graphical deficiencies compared to the Wii remake, like worse lighting effects and worse. It's still 7 months out from launch, so I
Yeah,
think
there
they'll be
might be a
ironed
reason
out.
it's not coming out till January, but as Spirit of Luxus points out, Forever Entertainment, this is what they're working on for Nintendo. This turns out to be the game they're working on,
Yeah, and so
and
consider the source, I guess. But you'd think Nintendo would be policing them pretty heavily with one of their core IPs.
I feel like it's going to get tuned up a bit. At first it was like, why is it so far out? And then it's like, okay, now it makes sense.
Yeah, I think 7 months out. I wouldn't worry too much yet. I that's a lot of time to iron out some of the issues that people have been calling out with the trailer. I still think it looks very clean, but yes, side by side, you can tell that some of the lighting effects and some of the shadowing and such isn't quite up to snuff compared to the original visuals on Wii. So we'll
Right.
see. Yeah,
Before we finish up and likely just move on to the
yeah,
patron topics, I do want to shout out Fantasian Neo
yeah. Good.
Dimension. It
You're right.
the, so have you heard the story of how that actually made it to the two consoles?
I only know that Square stepped in to work with Mistwalker on it, but I don't know the rest of it.
So Sakaguchi became a massive fan of Final Fantasy 14. Just like
Nice.
became content current in like 2 months or something like that. He just plowed through it, loved every moment of it, and became friends with the director, Yoshi P.
Right.
So when they were talking, them two of them were just talking, hanging, being buds, and basically the idea was floated out by forget who was floated out by, but it might have been Yoshi P being like, we should get your Fantasian on consoles. And so Yoshi P is the one who facilitated that so they could get Fantasian published by Square Enix and out on consoles for everybody.
That's cool. That is
So
actually really what a cool journey to
Yoshi P
consoles.
saving Final Fantasy and Square time and time again.
That's so great, and I'm so glad it's happening too, because this was a game that I always wanted to play, and I checked it out on mobile, and
Mhm.
it's not a it's it I liked what I played. I just don't like playing games on my phone, you know? So
Yeah, same.
it's
And we get
yeah,
voice acting this time around, so that's cool.
exactly. So very much looking forward to that. Now, we are going to move on to the topics, but I have to get your thoughts on this, Derek. And I put this
Boy.
in the title of the news because it's true. I do believe God has finally forsaken us because Bubsy in the Perfect Collection
Uh,
has officially
yeah.
been announced.
What is in that collection? I don't even know. I know Bubsy 3D is in there, but have they said what is exactly in that collection?
No, they haven't. I don't think they've said the extent to like what everything is in the collection. I think so far we know it's the first two games and then Bubsy 3D. But it also, has like art galleries and had interviews. It's like a playable history that includes games, artifacts, interviews. And it even admits in the game's description on screen or on Steam that it explores the franchise's troubled history. So they know exactly, I guess, what they're getting
They're
into with
leaning
this.
into it, that's for sure. It doesn't
Yeah,
mean it doesn't mean anything, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff out of limited run. As that awful line points out, Shantae Advance got delayed till next year, which is unfortunate. But
it's too bad.
just make it good. Make sure it's good. Gex Collection has a release date. Tomba 2. We're getting Tomba 1. Tomba 2 is coming as
Right.
well. That's cool. There are more exciting news out there coming out of this limited run direct than Bubsy.
I know. But that's the
But
one that,
Bubsy's the meme.
yeah, exactly. Now it looks like they're actually including at least a Game Boy game. I don't know how many Game Boy games there were, but I'm
Bubsy
looking
had
at
a
the
lot of
screenshots.
games, weirdly
Yeah.
enough, and variations, so
You know, and you know
they
what's
could
funny
go
about it?
hard on this.
You know what's funny about it too is the very first game, and only the very first game, actually wasn't terrible. It wasn't great, but it was a very you know, it was a very mid-tier platformer starring a wannabe 16-bit mascot. But it wasn't the worst thing ever, like what you'd expect from what it became. It went from like a mid place to just the worst thing you've ever played with Bubsy 3D. But the series actually started in a halfway decent place, but you wouldn't know it given the discourse around it now.
Right. I mean, it's fine, but I
Yeah,
played a little bit
very
of it.
mid.
It's not great. It's
No,
of all things, this should not have been the game to take off
and
amongst
after
all the
everything after it just sucks. Oh
yeah.
man. And also Shell Shock Prime, you're so right. Gimmick 2 was another one to come out of that, and that looks so good. I never finished the original Gimmick, but I want to now because that second game looks absolutely gorgeous. So, as you said, there's so much to come out of the limited run stuff, but Bubsy was, of course, it's the one that stands out because of the mimetic quality. But I watched the trailer for it, and the voice acting was as rough as you'd expect, and it has this really awkward thing where Bubsy's pretending to be James Bond, and it's just it's really bad. But it's coming.
Yeah.
It's being unleashed upon us, whether we like it whether we like it or not. So
There,
yeah.
there's definitely some exciting ones in here, just some funny ones as well because freaking Fighting Force is getting a collection, which I had the original back in the day. We got more information on Rugrats and all that. There was quite a bit to come out of all of this, and I've heard a lot of people be very upset with limited run. Like, I'm not going to pick up any of this physically because God help you if you actually want to play these on time.
Oh right. That's
It
so true.
is
That's I'd never pick them up physically. Elegy stuff. Yeah, for that reason. They take so long. Even though they do great work, they take so long to actually release.
Yeah,
And yes, by the
yeah.
way, for those of you asking, I see some people mentioning this. Yes, my dad did do the voice of Bubsy in not only the canceled TV pilot, but I think he was Bubsy in Bubsy 3D as well. I don't think it's not one of his one of the roles he's proudest of, but
I don't think he probably doesn't even remember it, to be honest.
you'd be surprised because he gets asked about it often enough that he does remember it.
Oh,
I think.
okay. I think
Yeah.
his line is, "I got paid."
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, a little bit of tidbit of info there for those of you who didn't know, but my dad did once upon a time voice Bubsy in at least the cartoon, unaired cartoon, but I think 3D as well. All right. Well, the less said about that, though, the better, I think. So let's go ahead and move on to our patron topics for the week. And as a reminder, again, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/GVGaming, where if you support us at the producer tier for just $10 a month, among other perks, you can suggest topics for us to discuss, like the ones we're about to now. And Derek, what is your topic for us this week, man?
Oh, well, mine comes from Eric saying, "Hey GVG, with the grand return, excuse me, of Marvel vs. Capcom, thanks to this new collection, a lot of people are speculating on a new game. How would you guys feel if instead of that, we got a new Children of the Atom or Marvel superheroes game?" And that's an interesting prospect, isn't it? But the thing is, I feel like people would be perhaps less excited because there's a progression. If you look at these games, you have Children of the Atom, then you go to Marvel superheroes. You go from X-Men to having all the Marvel characters. You have X-Men versus Street Fighter to Marvel superheroes versus Street Fighter, I think it was. And then of course you have Marvel versus Capcom, where it just gets grander and grander each time. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like, new Children of the Atom would fit in perfectly with X-Men 97. But
Right.
I don't think Capcom realized how big, I don't think anybody realized how big X-Men 97 was going to be.
Mhm.
So they just got really fortuitous with this collection for sure when it comes
Yeah.
to that. Whether they dedicate it entirely to X-Men, I kind of doubt it. I don't see that. Whether they just dedicate it entirely to Marvel superheroes, that feels a little bit more likely. But I feel like people would still miss the fact that, like, where's our Capcom characters as well.
Yeah, it's that iconic crossover element. And I mean, I could say for sure that straight up, I would be disappointed. And that's not because I don't love the X-Men or love Marvel. I'm a fan of both. But, I'd be I'm a gaming enthusiast first and foremost. So I would be lying if I said that of the two halves of MVC, it's not the Capcom half that I'm more into. Like I'm into both halves, but it's the Capcom half I care about more. So if you take that away, then you take away a huge chunk of why I love those games. Even though I'd still be interested in the new theoretical Marvel superheroes game, and I'd still check it out and play it. Without that Capcom half, you're really losing a huge part of what I love about these games. So personally, I wouldn't be into it as much, and I think by and large the consensus would be that it's feeling like a step back because it's Marvel versus Capcom as an entity is what's so iconic in terms of the fighting crossover element, right? So
Right.
I don't think it would necessarily be like people. It wouldn't be reviled. I think people would still be hyped, but I think there would be a lot of people out there who felt maybe a little disappointed, including myself. That said, what I really want is a new X-Men beat 'em up, like a new X-Men
Uh,
six-player beat 'em up arcade cabinet or
that was
home
a
release.
Konami though, wasn't it?
That was
Made
Konami
the
back in the day, yeah. But
Yeah.
hey, if Konami can sign off on Shredder's Revenge, then they could certainly maybe approach Marvel and become a development partner on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So sorry, I meant
X-Men
Nick.
'97 beat 'em
Yeah.
up.
Sorry, I meant if Nickelodeon can sign off on TMNT,
Oh,
there's
right,
no
right,
way
right.
that Marvel doesn't need couldn't sign off on a new X Men beat 'em up. And I'd say just Shredder's Revenge that shit, right? Just Shredder's
Yeah.
Revenge, a new
Shredder's
X Men beat
Revenge
'em
with
up.
the X-Men '97 characters, yeah, you'd
Yeah,
be sold. Just
yeah.
yeah,
And
easily sold on that
I don't know if you've watched it, but there's a whole episode of X-Men 97 that essentially it's about video games and it uses like hypothetical new sprite art for X-Men 97 characters as though they were in a beat 'em up and it looks amazing.
one. That's so good.
They knew exactly what they were doing with that. So yeah, but I think it sounds like Derek, you and I both agree that in terms of Eric's question, we would prefer it to be another MVC game, let alone rather than just a Marvel superheroes game.
Yeah. The bigger question is how do you go bigger at this point? That's the tricky part. Like it's more of an update of the roster,
Yeah.
whatnot. Although I mean, I know we already have Dante and Virgil, but it would be kind of cool to get Nero in there as well.
That would be cool. Yeah. I mean, there were some characters that were cut from MVC 2 and 3 that in both those games that were not in Infinite. So I mean, bring
It's
back some
true.
of the cut characters from 3. They never I mean, the number one thing they need to do for me is keep X, obviously. Please give X another chance in a game that is commercially successful because I'll never get over the fact that they put X front and center. They made him the hero of the story mode. He was the main character on the Capcom side, even over Ryu, and it was just the most commercially unsuccessful,
But it
unpopular
wasn't him.
MVC
But
game
it
ever.
wasn't his fault, and
Oh, of course not.
his
No.
villain became the main villain too. So that's the other thing.
Exactly. So just please just give X another shot in an NVC game that people want to play. Please just don't. Yeah, because it wasn't his fault, and I hope Capcom knows that. But they
Yeah.
cut Mega Man from MC2, could bring him back. I think they cut Amy didn't come back in Infinite, right? She was cut
No, I
from
don't
3
believe
to
so.
Infinite, so bring her back and Phoenix Wright, and I mean there's so many characters they could cobble together for a new game.
Especially get some classics because I don't believe Captain Commando is in 3 or
Yeah, that
4
too.
or 3 or Infinite. So like that's the fun part of actually seeing all these seeing these characters is seeing just who were the big stars of Capcom and Marvel at the time. And
Right.
it's funny that way. Like, you know what? Bring back BB Hood. I like BB Hood.
Oh,
BB
hell
Hood's
yeah.
fun.
Yeah, Amingo. Bring back some of the weird characters like Amingo, BB Hood. Yeah, Ruby Heart.
Bring back MVC2's original character. Let's get Ruby
Yeah,
Hart back in there.
yeah. I'm just gonna be so absolutely heartbroken if they make a new game and they keep Zero, but they cut X. That's just gonna be a knife through my heart.
Zero
Please
is
don't do
very
that.
popular in
Oh, Zero will
that.
always be an MVC, and he should be. I think they both should be. Like, I have no issue. But just being able to play as a team of X and Zero and Infinite was the coolest thing for me. I love being able to have them on the same team.
Mhm. And yeah, we got X, we got Zero. It's time to bring in I'm blanking on his name.
Axel?
Axel. That's it. There you go.
I don't
Time
know
for
if
Axel.
anybody likes Axel enough
Everybody
for
loves Axel.
yeah. But if they didn't bring back Mega Man, I could actually maybe see them adding Mega Man EXE just because Battle Network is kind of having another moment again, and I could see that maybe happening. That
If
would
they
be
go
cool.
for like a more of a like because they were going for like a merging of the two robot heroes, if they could go for a more digital space, that would
Yeah,
work very well to
it
do
totally would.
.exe, especially with how popular Battle Network was
Yeah.
sales wise. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd be down for yeah. Oh, I like that, Mito. Mega Man and Base.exe in the
Oh,
roster.
Base.exe is such a cool character design. I'd love to see him in the roster with Mega Man
Hmm.
EXE. Yeah. Well,
Same.
hopefully this is what this is building to. Hopefully we're getting a brand new Marvel game that'll just satisfy everybody. We'll see what happens. But thank you for that topic, Eric. And then for my topic this week, I'm going with Hendrix Trogs. Thank you very much. Who says, I haven't played a Call of Duty in 15 years because I got burnt out, but weirdly enough, I'm interested in Black Ops 6. Has there ever been a game series that you dropped but found yourself won back over with a later entry? And yeah, straight up, and I suspect maybe this is the case for some other people out there, Pokemon. I burnt out hard on Pokemon about halfway through my playthrough of Gen 7. So I never actually finished Pokemon Moon, and it wasn't that I didn't like the game. I just kind of finally got burnt out on the repetition of it all, having played through Gens 1 through 6 and by and large enjoying them. But I just kind of something snapped halfway through Gen 7, and I was like, it was during one of the totem fights, and I was like, I'm not having fun anymore. It's the same thing over and over again. And so I never finished it. And then Sword and Shield were a thing, and I just kind of was like, I don't know. I'm good. I just don't really feel the need to play these. I think I've moved on. I think I'm a lapsed Pokemon fan. I think I've moved on officially. But then, despite all the issues, technical issues, Scarlet and Violet actually won me back over with their approach to having that kind of open field Pokemon game that I think I and a lot of us always wanted and imagined as kids. Like, despite all the technical problems, you were actually able to finally go out in the open world and fight and catch and witness Pokemon in real time in their natural habitats. And I think that was what won me over back to the side of Pokemon. And I ended up finishing Pokemon Violet despite all the technical junk that was going on in that game. And I don't regret my time with it, despite those issues. I'm kind of glad that the Gen 9's new approach to the gameplay kind of won me back over because I think I would have felt like I missed out if I hadn't actually given it a chance.
Mhm. I I might be currently burnt out on Pokemon. I don't know because I was similar to you where I didn't pick up Gen 3 until later because I was just
Uh-huh.
like I've outaged Pokemon, and then I came back with Gen 4. But I picked it up, but played so little of Scarlet and Violet, and I kind of want to, but it's also one of those things like, eh.
I get it. And
It's
yeah. No, I
I
hear
don't
you.
know. I don't know. I especially because, and I don't know how Joe Merrick does it because I went hard on Pokemon for years, and I was really starting to feel that burn.
Hmm.
So
No, I
I
hear you.
think I'm finally in my taking it easy moment
Right.
of not going back into that. I was thinking about what applied. I was like looking through like what games I've lapsed on for a while, and one that came to mind, and even though I haven't picked it up, I have shown more interest in it. But I played the first couple entries of Assassin's Creed.
Okay.
Like I played one, I played the Ezio trilogy, and I was partway through three, and then I burned out. And then they just kept releasing Assassin as a game after game after game after game. I'm like, all right, I think I'm done. But you started to hear about, oh no, the latest ones are actually really good. So like, and then you see the Japanese one, it's like, it's like I'm not fully there yet, but it's also one of those like, maybe, maybe,
Yeah, it's interesting because I never got into Assassin's Creed, which I lovingly refer to as Ass Creed, and I haven't really played more than a few minutes of a couple of the different games. But I watched the gameplay trailer of Shadows. I'm kind of into it. It's like the first time I've ever
Mhm.
kind of been into maybe checking out an Assassin's Creed game. So I'm not a lapsed fan necessarily because I never was a fan in the first place. But I hear you. There's something about Shadows that's kind of drawing me in a way no other Assassin's Creed game ever has. And to those of you all telling me that I need to play Pokemon Legends Arceus, I actually did play it for about 15 hours and I bounced off it. Still, that wasn't for some reason. And I get that there's a lot about Arceus that's better than Scarlet and Violet, but for whatever reason, the gameplay loop of that game just was not enough to win me back over to Pokemon. Even though I appreciated what was different about it, and I appreciated that it was technically the first time you were able to go out into the wild and see Pokemon and catch Pokemon in their own habitats. But for some reason, it took that framework being wrapped around a core concept or a core Pokemon game to really pull me back into the fold. I couldn't tell you why, but for those of you saying I forgot Arceus, don't worry, I didn't. I just didn't mention it in my little soliloquy. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, I I'm trying to think of others. Like I'm over here looking. I think I'm more just I've lapsed, but have not gone back to a few games. Um,
Hmm.
I guess technically Street Fighter because I did play Street Fighter 2 as a kid, and I came back later. Like Street Fighter 4 pulled me in, and then I lapsed again when I tried out 5, and I'm like, I'm not for 5, and then I got back to 6. So
Hmm.
I apparently I just skipped the odd numbered entries of Street Fighter going back and forth.
I guess so. Yeah.
Um, but as for other Prince of Persia to a degree as well. I love Sands of Time, but I skipped Warrior Within and Two Thrones. But then I checked out what is it, Prince of Persia 2008. Really
Nice.
enjoyed that one, but then it never got a follow up or sequel.
Oh,
Oh well.
yeah. I'm seeing some folks in chat say 2D Mario, which is an interesting take
Yeah.
because I can see that with the new Super Mario Brothers games kind of making you lapse for a little bit and then coming back with wonder. I never necessarily lapsed as a 2D Mario fan, but I could see why all the repeated, new Super Mario Brother games might make you kind of be like, I'm just gonna wait for the next newer feeling thing.
Right. Yeah.
Even yeah,
That's a good one.
yeah, for sure. But well, thank you for that question, Hendrix Trog. Super appreciate it. And with that, I do believe we are nearing the end of GVG Cast episode 107. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us. We always really love and appreciate doing this with you almost every week. As always, we have to give a special shout out to all of our patrons at the producer tier and above. It happened because we could not do it without you. So thank you so very much. And as always, we have to give an extra special shout out to all of our patrons at the executive producer tier and above. And those fine, amazing, wonderful folks include Brandon Bovia, Cutie Caitlin, Fangs, Z Patty, Sky Blue Flames, Eastman 23, Adam O'Sullivan, Richard Herrera, Logan Daniel, The D-Pad, Blake, Joy Content, Angel Martinez, Vedran, Joshua Hunter, Benny Yao, Azran127, Black King, Geeky Griffin, Wataniac, Top Dog 23100, Young Ben Kenobi, Andrew Medeiros, Darchi, Becca, Esax08, Michael McCaw, Matthew Wong, Goron Amber CPHT, Too Much Spaghetti, Bane 400, Ascaron 809, Ryaner, Benji Bearpup, The Game Orb, Super Gamer Dude 101, Ravelox, Rosa Pardo Bowling, Hi Steve's Mod, Darksteel 01, Jason Uloa, Jaden Buck, Cystic Warrior 29, Derek, Colin, Blaystar 25, Twilord, Jackomong, Mumbling Yeti, Cameron Sharp, Keel, Hustlebun, Noah Fitterer, Calvin Atkinson, Brainchild, Jim Wakeland, Andy Mime P, Aramis Baramis, Lord Metarex, Blaze Collard, Eric, Cat Evie Person 5, Mega Beatman True Blue Reviews, Ryan Hanley, Somnia, The Game Jamie, Zombie Joe, and last but certainly not least, Marathon Max. Thank you all so very much. We are off to our patron exclusive post show, but we will see you next week at the same time for GVGcast episode 108. Until then, good night and good vibes. Bye, everybody.
Hi.